This is Lauren Bod. I'm here with Bobbie Hayes at her home in Readyville, Tennessee. It is March 16th, 2012. This interview is for Preserve the Area's Rural Qualities, a nonprofit organization that is interested in preserving the history of Readyville, Tennessee and the Readyville Mill. Bobbie, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Oh, yes, you do.
All right. Okay. Well, where are you originally from?
Here.
Right here?
Right here in Readyville.
Oh, when were you born?
1942.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I was born here in Readyville, in Cannon County.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, at this same location.
Really? In this house?
Yeah.
Wow. So you've lived here your whole life?
Yeah, no, I moved away when I was in, after I finished high school. I moved to California. And then I lived in Michigan after married.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in Michigan, but I moved back here in 1979, so I've been here ever since.
So, what are your earliest memories of the mill?
Oh, my earliest memories when we was children.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 siblings. I have a brother and 2 older sisters, and the mill is where we would go to swim and play in the back. It would be a sandbar. And in fact, my brother and my sisters were baptized behind the mill. It was a place there where you could baptize. And my mom, she was a widow at 25 with 4 children, and her enjoyment was after working real hard all day was to come home and go fishing. And she would fish sitting back behind the mill. I mean, when she would come home, we would have worms and things ready, and she would go fish, and we would just play in the water back there. But because we didn't realize how dangerous now, I wouldn't do that. But when the mill was running, and they would have water when they was grinding, and the water would come through there real swift so it could turn the wheels to grind the corn. And so what we would do, we would get an old log and hang on to it and float. And the swiftness would carry us down the river, and it kind of washed us to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get our log and come back and do the same. And couldn't swim.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we would do it. And leaving, well, you know where the mill is.
Yeah.
And we had a shortcut that we could go across. And this, we would up on the cliff. But between 2 rocks, it would be like a dirt that we could slide down. And we would slide down this cliff. But in fact, my brother like to fell off that rock cliff once. And my sister, she had to grab him to keep him from falling. And that's the shortcut. We would go to the mill. We had a path, and that was what we did. And then later on, when I was in high school, I started working for Burnett's Grocery, right there, the little local store. It's Russell's Market now, but it was Miss Annette Burnett and Wilma Burnett and Mr. Justice that run the mill. He used to bring flour and meal and everything. And I remember King Patton. My granddaddy loved King Patton flour. That was the name of. And you used to get meal flour in cloth bags, but it'd be a pattern. And my mom would buy those patterns and make dresses for us out of that material. So you always try to she always tried to get enough of the same type of flour.
Yeah.
And back then, they they was recycling and didn't realize they was recycling because they was bagging in things that people could use again. And so we would have dresses made out of this cloth that the flour used to be in, and our undergarments would match with little ruffles. I mean, they could look at a dress in a magazine and actually cut a pattern and made our clothes from it. And I remember growing up, I wanted a store-bought dress. I didn't realize how blessed I was to have someone that could sew for me, and they were pretty. In fact, I ran across a picture not too long ago with me with my little king pattern dress and white collar with little ruffles, you know. And I realized that, you know, well, we was poor, but we didn't know we was poor because the mill generated electricity for this area before a lot of other people had it. And then it was ice factory also, so we could get ice when some of the other people before they did, because they generated electricity and made ice, and then you know, we could get our meal and flour there. So it was and I remember Ray Justice, Mr. Justice's son, he had a snake that would stay in the mill, you know, and he called it his pet snake, but it wasn't, we thought it was there just to keep us from rambling, but he had it that controlled the mice and things to keep him from getting in the
Oh, wow.
in the corn and things, and it would just, so it would just, people then would use whatever they could, you know. And when I was working for Miss Burnett at the store, I just learned, you know, she taught me a lot, you know, about in buying and how to buy and how to keep your inventory up and how to invest back into the inventory. And the people here in Readyville, like Mr. Justice, they were important into you, you know, what they learn. And although if you think that you they thought you was interested, they would take time and explain why you would, because I always had a lot of questions. I would always ask them questions like when the belt would be feeding, well, how do you know when to stop it? How do you know how much water to run through it? I mean, it was just amazing to watch that process. But we had to watch from afar because, you know, of safety features. But I guess that's mostly what I remember is about the mill and the dam. Now my brother, he used to work down there. James did. James, how long did you work for Mr. Justice?
I don't know.
You don't remember it? Yeah, he's older than I am, and he would help him load and
Oh, really?
deliver when he go. They did it all. He grind, he bagged. I mean, and then he would go deliver it to the different little country stores all throughout in the back of a pickup truck. You know, it's nothing
Wow.
real fancy like they have now. I mean, you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
But it was at that time, you know, we thought we was uptown, so to speak, because we had electricity around here and we could get ice, and I mean, it was just things that we had that, excuse me, that other people didn't get for a while, you know. So, and in this neighborhood at the Readyville Mill, it generated income for other people. You know, the people would sell their corn to Mr. Jesters, and then Mr. Jester would give jobs to someone like my brother. He was young, but they could help bag or tie up the bags, or everything was manual, not automated like it is now. So, you know, it was that physical labor that he could use those boys, you know, and and they gave him something to do, you know, and then when when my girl the when I after I moved back here, this was the what was Marie? The Kerrigans had bought the mill,
Mm-hmm.
and we got to be friends because she had some boys the same age as my son, and they was real close, and 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 she made a store there, and she would bake bread and go to flea markets and things. And so I would help her bake bread, and then I would help her in the store. So I learned how to bake bread.
Mm-hmm.
Then we opened up a store in Murfreesboro. It's called Whole Grain Bake Shop.
Oh, really?
Yes, and she, I don't know, have you ever had a copy of the book that she written?
Oh, no, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't. Mm-hmm.
it's called The Miller's Table.
Oh, okay.
I need to dig that out for you
Yeah.
sometime, and
Yeah.
there's some pictures in there of Mr. Bob Taylor. He was an icon here in Readyville in his picture. He was born here, and I think during slavery time, so he had knowledge of all of this.
Yeah.
He witnessed, and and she had this meal, and she tried to preserve some of the like in the book with Daddy Bob, you know, because Marie, she was Jewish, and we being African Americans, you know, we was, you know, kindly was still it was segregation here at that time, and we kind of just blended and
Yeah.
kind of stuck together at things, and she opened up some doors that, you know, maybe wasn't very popular in sharing with the blacks, but it gave people insight of what they had here that they had just taken for granted,
Yeah.
you know. And Daddy Bob, when she like what you're doing now, she had interviewed, and she always talked to him, and in talking he would tell her stories, and she shared that in her book, and when people was reading it, they, you know, they really, they've been knowing him all their lives, but then to realize all this knowledge that he had that nobody had really tapped into, and like his mother-in-law, we called her Mammy Zan. Well, everybody around here called her Aunt Zan because she was another one. She knew about she knew the first people that, and she would share with us, and she would tell us that when the Civil War was, she said that they would be out playing, and they would hear that the soldiers were coming, and they would run and hide, and they remember hiding in the mill and up under corn and
Wow.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she remember the mill being destroyed during the
No,
Civil War?
well, I can't remember her sharing
Mm-hmm.
with me of that, you know. But I remember a lot of floods that Mr. Justice, bless his heart, he had to always, the water would get up, and sometimes we would go and help him, you know, try to stack stuff up, but then it just depended. It would get too high, and it would get the corn and everything wet, and then he had a lot of setbacks because of flooding, but I guess that was just something that went with that type of business at that time, you had to use the river to generate the power, so quite natural sometimes it was going to cause floods. I remember at the store, right there at that store, the water was so high. One time it got up in the store, and we had to come out the back and get in a boat because we was inside, stayed too long trying to stack things up, and we had to come out and get in a boat and to get out. But I mean, this was just something that we just kind of got used to. And then when I was working at the store, the race that runs from the across the highway,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
well, I witnessed more wrecks there. In fact, was when young Edith, what was his? I can't. He was a Hollingsworth, I think, that had a wreck there, and he drowned in the race. And then we was at the store one day, and this lady had come in, and she had left her child in the car. Well, the little girl took and moved the car out of park, and it rolled back into the race.
Oh.
But it would just so happen that there was no water that much in it at that time, and they were able to get her out. But it's been several wrecks right there, you know, and where people had lost their lives right there at that race. And these are just some of the things that I remember, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't, was it, just trying to think, about when the Kerrigan was, when they had their store. Well, she sold quilts, and people that around in the neighborhood that was still doing hand quilts and things. Well, they opened up a market for people that was coming in, the tourists, and they was buying these quilts. And so that was, you know, I guess it's more like what you would call a consignment. If you had something you want to sell, you would take it down to Marie's, and she would hang it up, and somebody come through and look at it, they see it, and they want it. I know my grandmom, she had a lot of antiques like churns and butter churns and things and she just said, well, she didn't need all that anymore, and in fact she sold all that. You know, Marie would have it sitting around the store, and it looked good, you know, but somebody would come in and want to buy it, and so she would sell it. Yeah. And in fact, I still have some quilts and things that we was making, because I got into quilting after I came back home, because when I was little, my mom and them would be quilting, and I never did want to quilt, never
Yeah.
did want to sew. But as I got older, and when I came back home and people was into quilting again, I was interested in that. And that was something that they used the mill for, you know, to, I guess the talent that was here in this area in Woodbury, that people, you know, or like basket weaving.
Yeah.
And she would have flea markets there, and people would come.
Really?
It would be a big. And then there was some people that owned it before Marie, was the Flipses. Now
Yeah.
they too, I think they kind of restored it back, the mill back to like it was. Or they went and found the regular stone wheels and things, and they was here for a long time, and they put a lot in it. You know, they really did. And when I moved back home the last time, and it was in despair, it kind of hurt my heart, you know, just to see it. But I'm so glad now that PARQ, you know, they started doing things to protect it, like to keep the weather, the rain out of it, and putting plastic over the windows, and just doing what they could. And I work at the radio station, so they would come and we would they would be on the radio, and they would be talking about it, and there would be people that was calling in and remembering about the meal. So I think I may can ask Bart if he still have any of those interviews on tape where people was calling in
Mhm.
and
Okay.
sharing when they was little. And this was one thing about talk radio that, when you open up the mic for that, you'd be surprised who's out there that have knowledge of things. And then one would call and they would share something and it was just amazing,
Mhm.
and I thought, you know, I live there, you know, so, so it was always, it was always just felt like a little city to me, because I was a little country girl anyway. So, but we had so much, and the people here, the blacks and the white always did get along.
Mhm.
We never did experience that,
Mhm.
what some areas did, and it was like my grandmom. She was well known in the community, and people respect her. I mean, she was short, but she was fiery. I mean, and if she said something, she meant what she said.
What was her name?
Ordie,
Ordie.
Ordie Robinson. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody, they, she was just a very devout lady, and she, man, she was a disciplinarian,
Yeah.
and so. I think that was one of the things out of the respect that the way we was brought up, that and people admired that, and and she always instilled in us, you feel good about yourself,
Mhm.
and never, always be willing, don't mind getting your hand dirty, because you don't never know what you may have to do to make a living.
Mhm.
So if someone, wanted us to help them. I do ironing. We would do that. But Miss Burnett, she the one that started me in with the store, and then she taught me what she knew, and so I learned a lot about marketing from her,
Yeah.
never knowing that I was going to be in the radio business.
Yeah. Mhm.
So it was just they call me a public relationist because that I have a way of mingling with people, but that's what we did here.
Mhm.
We was brought up in a community where we felt good about ourselves,
Yeah.
so that way we didn't feel that we weren't intimidated
Mhm.
because of color or gender or
Mhm.
anything. We knew some things. I didn't realize how bad they were until I had moved away
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
came back.
Mhm.
Then I started experiencing,
Mhm.
a feeling like, oh, because when I went to California, it was totally, totally different.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and and when I came back, so I started doing things that
Mhm.
kind of,
Mhm.
to help bring about some changes,
Yeah. Mhm.
because but when I left to go to California, I know people and just show you how they must, all of them, everybody come to the store, they would had some words to impart the wisdom. Now when you go there and you go to get a job, now you, if anybody asks you, can you do this, you say yeah, even if you can't, let them find out that you can. I mean, this
Uh,
is, they all had some word of advice to give me, some words of encouragement, and I just think about that. That's the type of community we lived in. That's the type of place I was brought up in, and I'm just so thankful that we had. We had the Readyville Mill. We had two sawmills. I
yeah.
mean, we well, people may say we had it going on,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and we had a good relationship
Mhm.
between the people, so that made a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Justice, he always would have a garden, and I loved okra. And every time his okra would come in, he would come over and he would bring okra. And then different ones when we was at the when he was at the mill, and when Mama would fry chicken or something, or she'll send us down with him a plate or something. But his wife and things, she could cook too. But this was just things you did, not that they needed, but just something that you would share and do. Yeah, and I think that's just about all I can remember. Mostly all is it's just how it. Well, one of the things is it's how it brought people together.
Yeah.
It's because we all had to have flour and meal, and so it was something that we all had to do, and by him giving employment to people and letting them, and I can't remember the man that used to drive the ice truck for him. I can't. Well, it wasn't for Mr. Justice at that time. It was for some more people, but I can't remember his name, who it was. And I called my sister, and she said she couldn't remember. She said, all I can remember is that how we used to get on the log going down the river and couldn't swim.
Yeah.
Yeah, and being baptized. I mean, that was something back then, because of, we were very spiritual people anyway, and to be on that sandbar and that river, it was a joyous occasion, and when you would have a baptism. In fact, Mr. Taylor, what I was telling you, he wasn't baptized till he was 80-something years old.
Wow.
And so it was kind of a community thing when he was, that they came out for his baptism, because he wanted to be baptized in the river. By that time, people was having baptismals and, baptists in the churches, but we still baptize in the river. And we still have people now that want to be baptized in the river. Yeah.
So, were there black churches and white churches here?
Yeah. In fact, it used to be a Methodist church right there on the corner.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you pass one that we was associated with. Before you turn off coming to Readyville, in fact, it's a new church now over there, but they just built that last year, and they it was all. And now Miss Burnett that I worked for, she went to New Hope. That was Church of Christ Church. Yeah. And then the Lassiters, they was Baptist, and they would go to the one over Leon. I mean, we all was kind of, but we still come together in the community, right in this little area.
What was the name of your church?
It was Hickory Grove, Readyville Baptist Church. Yeah, and my sisters. They was all, and my brother. And right in this little community here, it used to be, I guess it'd be about 20 black families, but now just 3 of us.
Really?
The house, it used to be a house next door, and it's tore down. And then the one over there, the lady, when people, they never had any children. And so the property, went to some heirs, and they not. So it's just there, and all the original people, me and the Browns and the Taylors, we still here. Yeah.
So when you were little, did you have white friends?
Oh yeah, Cheryl and Cheryl Tatsy and Smithson now, and Bennett. In fact, Delman, I don't know if you probably bragged. They lived right across from us.
Oh, okay.
For years, yeah. And that's who we had to play with. My
Yeah.
brother. That was because his friends was the Hiltons.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that we always played together.
Mhm.
Yep, we
But your
had.
schools were segregated, though.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, in
So.
fact, I we had a school bus that we had to take us to Murfreesboro, the high school,
Mhm.
because we didn't have a black high school in Cannon County, so we had to go to. And when my sister went to go to high school, my mom had to. She had to ride the Greyhound bus,
Oh.
and then my aunt, when she graduated to go to high school, she had to ride a milk truck. Now, a milk truck was a truck that would come by twice a day, in the morning and evening, because people would milk cows, and they would sell the milk, and then it was a truck that come by and pick up the milk to take to the creamery.
Mhm.
And so, and was the way they would have, for us to pursue an education. We had until things really start changing. But with each generation, it got a little bit better. Where my auntie was with the milk truck, my sister was with the Greyhound, and then I was on the school bus.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so it got, and then my son, well, by the time we moved back here, schools was integrated. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the things that amazed him when we first moved back is when they would let out of school for snow and things, and he said, "Mom, why they let?" Because we lived in Michigan.
Yeah. Mhm.
He said, "Why they let out of school for snow?" And I
Mhm.
had to explain because of the hills and things that
Yeah.
it would be at. But he just couldn't imagine
Mhm.
not going to school because of snow.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes.
So,
And
how old was he when you moved back here?
he was 14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, he was 14, and him and Kenny, the Kerrigan boys,
Mhm.
they were real close. They
Mhm.
were real close
Mhm.
because when he was up here at Westside School, they played basketball together, and then Ken, when they would go on senior trips or something, well, Kenny and Darrell always stayed together
Mhm.
because like I told you, he was Jewish and Darrell was black, so it was kind of still that kind of
Yeah. Mhm.
people kind of still didn't. Some of them still didn't want to sleep in the same room, but then the
Mhm.
kids didn't think much about it. It would be the older
Yeah. Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
Yeah, in fact, I still run into some of Darrell's friends, and they talk about uh, I think his time of being away because he hadn't experienced anything different,
Mhm.
and so when he came back, he kind of had some adjusting to do because of some attitudes, but like I said, you know, he was well grounded, so he felt good about himself. So he wasn't intimidated by what people said or what people think. You can't let that change who you are.
Yeah. Mhm.
You know who you are.
Yeah.
And so, and being the only child, he was kind of, he had a lot of his mom's spunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not
Mhm.
not that you're boasting in yourself, but when you feel good about yourself and you feel like, hey, I can do this,
Mhm.
I can learn this,
Mhm.
you know. And I was telling him, but if you have a teacher that you think's not liking you, just pick his brain. He can't stop you from learning.
Mhm.
Only you can stop learning. I said, so you show him by learning.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, so that was one of the things I think that what kind of helped us is that when we had people in the neighborhood that was willing to, hey, if you're doing something wrong, they gonna be here to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is. It could be the Tiffle girls. It could be if they see you doing, they gonna tell your parents, or they gonna say something to you. I mean, that's just what kind of neighborhood we was brought up in, and I thank God for that now, because I think it made me to be a stronger person. You know, more accountable for if you do something wrong, you're going to have to pay it. Because somebody's seeing you. Yeah.
So, do you know how far back your family history goes here in Readyville, or in this area in Middle Tennessee? Do you know how long they've been here?
Oh, I know my granddad and my grandfather. He was the one, because he worked in the mine. It used to be a mine that Hoover's, or it was Gaither's mine. I think it was Gaither. The mine over in Porterfield. I really, and my other sister, she would know, Lillian would, but
Okay.
I can't remember, because I just know I'll be 70 my birthday, so and Lillian was 70, she's 77, so she was here. I know it's been about 80 something years. No,
Yeah.
or longer, way longer than that. I am old. I just hadn't really thought about that, how long. Now that Taylor girl, she goes to the archives and she get all this information, and my sister sent me some things the other day. Well, of where her grandson had gotten some information and just but from the census, But I told her, I said, it's so small, I can't read it. I couldn't make it out what
Yeah.
it's awful small. And Janice, she does a lot of, she can get information from the archives. So if you need to, I guess if you wanted to pull that up, you probably could.
Okay.
You have some names, if you want to read. And my grandfather's name was Uni Robinson. In fact, this is my great 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 grandparents.
Wow.
Now, Papa Gus, he looks like the woman, doesn't he? And Mammy Healy, she looks like the man. Yeah, that's my granddaddy's grandparents. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Do you know where they lived?
they was out of Liberty over in DeKalb County.
Okay.
From over in cause I know she was an Anderson, and he was a Robinson. So Janice had did some research on that for me and got some information. In fact, we went to the Liberty Cemetery and were just looking around. And there's so many people with the same name of what's in our family. My aunt name is Nani. There's a Nani on the stone. So those names come down. And what they said, it was how the Robinsons came about. It was two brothers that had slaves, and they had the same, by them being Robinsons. That's how it was two different families of Robinsons.
Yeah.
Because of the, but so we don't know we can't figure out what our names were before.
Yeah.
So we just, you kind of get to a dead end after. You can only go so far because it just run you into, and then we found out it's more mulattoes. It's such a all through the family tree, what we did get. So it's just like, well, you can see that with the pictures, Yeah, so.
Yeah. So, but you were telling me that your brother worked at the mill?
Yeah, he was, but he would help him
Mm-hmm.
load the truck
Mm-hmm.
and have him bag up flour and different.
Uh,
Yeah,
was there ever a time when African Americans couldn't work at the mill, or
no,
they
it
always
was
worked there?
Mr. Justice. He would
Mm-hmm.
just, see, at that time, maybe he wouldn't work out because he was more like a family run thing, and it didn't take a lot of people to do what he was doing. Maybe he just needed help with you to bag it up and tying it up
Yeah.
and help him load the truck and going with him when he go to deliver it, to carry because everything's not in, it wouldn't even be in little 5 pound. It was 25-pound bags, big,
Mm-hmm.
that you have to put over your shoulder. See, that's how people would buy it. So the little bags didn't exist then. Everything was in 10 and 25-pound bags. So he need help with loading and stacking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, not that I, can remember. It was what you call physical labor. So they would use blacks or or any of the other boys around here that would give them some little money to do things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like he was on payroll or nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, during segregation or even after when you moved back in the late 70s, were there any, like outward signs of racism, or were people, generally, accepting? Or,
Uh, well, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. My son. That's what I was saying. He
Yeah.
he he experienced that, and
At school a little?
at
Yeah.
school,
Mm-hmm.
and I think because of he had been in a different environment, like
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things what we found kind of hard because when we was in Michigan, he was majoring in electronics, and then when we came here, they didn't have that. They didn't offer that, and he had to take classes that he had already had because it was required at a certain
Oh. Mm-hmm.
time, and they wouldn't let. And so he had to take shop. And he did not like shop because he was into electronics, and had a problem with the teacher there. But we had to let him know, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm aware of what's going on, and I know this is not right, and the teacher, he was saying that, well, the way I let Darrell dress, said that some of those kids was poor, and I said, he just wear blue jeans.
Yeah.
We always did iron and starch. That was one of the things what we brought up, ironing clothes. You couldn't have no wrinkle clothes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so that's just one of in black families that they do,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And and he was saying because of the way, and I told him no. I didn't think he, or in some things that was happening. I said, you just can't dismiss it that they will be just being boys, but because you being a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
I expect you to have control over your class.
Yeah.
And I had several meetings with the principal, and I understood, he understood where I was, because I wasn't angry. I just letting him know I'm aware that, hey, this is going on. I'm letting you know that I'm aware of it. And so they addressed it,
Mm-hmm.
and I told them, I said, I want that class monitored, because if anything else happened, I will go before the school board. So I just let them know I was aware of what rights I had,
Yeah.
and so they kind of and the teacher, he apologized to me for some things he had said to my son. You know, he said, "Well, you know, that's just slang." No,
Yeah.
you know, and then for some people, they thought they said, "Well, you just gonna stir up trouble." No, I'm just standing up for my child.
Exactly.
You know, and like I said, it was a way. I think when they was aware that hey, this is going on, and not only for him, but for the next child that come in behind Darrell to that teacher. So he need to know that hey, it's people that's not going to tolerate that. I'm not intimidated by you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and so that was only thing. And when they found out that and Darrell was playing, he was a good basketball player, but I noticed that his grades had started, and I requested a conference because I wanted, and then I was sensing somebody wasn't telling me, and because he had made starters, some of the kids, they had started being bullying into him, and that's when I told him, I said, you know, and I didn't know that they was taking him out of school to practice, and I said academics first, basketball second.
Yeah.
You know, until you get your grades up, no basketball. And so they realized, hey, I meant that, because you taking them out of class to practice basketball, and he then when I found out what the boys had done, and then the coach, he came and he told me, he said, that won't happen again. I said, no, because he's not going to be playing anymore. I said, it's not that important to him.
Yeah.
So it was just some things that I think that they think they had to find out that all black people just don't care for that sports is not just hey. 'Cause, it's more to it than that. So when Darrell graduated, he he was supposed to start the MTSU, and he joined the Marines,
Oh, well.
and it made me actually sick. I mean, I'm physically sick because it's my only child, and and he told me, he said, "Mom, you've kind of spoiled me," and he said, "I need the discipline." Because I don't
Well.
know what I want to do, and I don't want you spending your money, and I'm going to school and don't know what I want to do. So he stayed 12 years in the Marine Corps.
Wow.
It really was. So now he's at Southwest Airlines, and I have a good son, and that's what I'm saying about with the neighborhood, like the Russell and all of them, they grew up kind of together. So Russell, he know. I told him, I said, there's so many generation of kids that by me working at the store, the voice is going, that by me working at the store, that I get to see these children grow up, get married, and when I moved back, and now my child, my grandchildren is with some of their children. And so anyway, when we get back to the mill, it was just like it's still a landmark for people. That my sister, when they looking forward to this summer coming, and we're gonna plan a reunion for the people that lived here. That's and that we're gonna come and go down to the eatery. We call it, kind of.
Oh, do you know when you're gonna do that?
No, well, we had said for my birthday, but it depends on how these treatments and things
Yeah.
and everything
When's
go.
your birthday?
June.
Oh, June.
Yeah, my sister, one's in Texas, one in California, but they come home and they stay at least 6 weeks, and we go around and do, and now they can't hardly wait to come to the meal,
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I'm trying to think if what else was at the meal. It was something. Yeah. That Mr. Flips and them used to do the apples. When the apple season, they would have a hot apple cider, and people would come there for that. In the harvest time, it would just they would have like a little flea market thing too, and people it would just be a country environment. Kind of what I think kind of doing on Saturdays now, only they having the eating and the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So, how many times a year would they usually do that?
um spring and fall.
Okay.
Mostly in the fall when it's harvest, and then the spring. Yeah, I mean, well, kind of when the vegetables when it's coming in, and people would come and have their little, uh, they would have crafts and then they would have your food. Yeah, but most of them is like the uh, uh, chair people that make chairs and bottom chairs and pottery. Marie, the one was Terry was a coppersmith, and he would make utensils out of. I mean, it was just people, and then one she had would do pen and ink.
Oh.
I mean, it was just awesome. It was just bringing all these people together, and what they was called the Backtothelanders.
Yes.
That that they when they moved here, they brought all this talent with them, and that they would come in and they would do all these drawings and making all these things, tie dyeing.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I was had to do a part of that. In fact, it was they had these names like leaping lizards, and they would take different names. And this one family, he named his children leaping lizard and hopping grasshopper.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Really, really smart. Really smart people. They would really, and some of them was over to in fact, Marie, that's how she came in here. The Kerrigans, they came with the people from that Sunny something farm. What is that farm?
Oh, in Summertown?
Yeah,
I think it's just called the farm.
Yeah, the farm,
Yeah.
Yeah, they all was there at one time.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. I knew about the Backtothelanders, but I didn't know that
Yeah.
some of them came from the farm, though.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
Marie, she did, yeah, and that was so. I told her it's only you, because her husband was Catholic and she was Jewish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was a Baptist, and we would we laugh about that. We would. I said, boy, we're a combination. But
So, what was Marie like?
Marie, she's Hungarian, and I guess you would say she was more activist because she was really smart. I mean, like like with making the breads and she could come. She was what is this word? Interpreter and that do different things. Always starting out doing different business. She could see a market for different things.
Oh,
Yeah, you know, and started, you know, like when she started the store and had the quilts, and then when I think this guy name was Terry that would make spoons and things out of copper, and then the lady that would come and do the pen and ink drawing, she would see where people would buy these things, and she opened up where people could display their works. And Marie, she loved my granny.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, those two pictures she gave them to mom. Yeah, and then she was always bringing her things or seeing things, you know, and she'd tell her, she said, Grandma, stop getting rid of your antiques. She said, stop getting rid of yes, but my grandma was thinking, well, you know, she didn't need to have room for all of this. And now they, like my grandkids, they don't care for them. So I'm going to get rid of
Oh.
no. No, I just asked them what they want to keep. And they told me, Mom, Granny, you only sell what you want to. Because I had people that's been wanting to buy different pieces. And so I think I will, because they just not interested in them, you know. Like when with our generation, as the generation get, you probably have some things that your mom think you may be interested in.
Yeah, well, I'm a little more interested, I guess, because I'm in history than I guess.
Oh,
Well,
oh
yeah,
yeah,
most people.
well
Because I
yeah.
am interested in those things. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, but and my son, his wife, she tells, I think she thinks she might get stuck with him, so she tells him, go up and help your mom get rid of that stuff, get them on eBay or something. I said, I don't need you to help me get on eBay or Craigslist or what. No, no, I'll find my own market. Yeah, she laughing.
Yeah.
They laugh at me because I tell them, I said, no. I said, I'm still making decisions for
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no. This man, I'm gonna take care of it now, and like I ask my nieces and things, whatever, because I don't use it. Our dinners used to when we was coming up, it was a big thing. We all would eat together. I mean, it was just special. And we didn't eat all over the house. You eat at the table. It would be and on Sunday the preacher would come and eat dinner with us, and and I said, I never get my dishes out. So it's just now when my grandkids come, oh granny, we just use paper plates.
Well, it works too.
I mean, but you don't.
Yeah.
If
Don't have
they
the
know
same.
how to set a table,
Yeah. Mhm.
and that's the part that I miss. I miss that I'm not. Now, my little great grandbaby, the other day I told her, I said, I want you to come help G Granny. We're going to start from one shelf. We're going to take things and out and wash them. And she said, okay. She likes to help me wash dishes.
Yeah.
Oh, but when she get older, she
Oh
probably
yeah.
won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she can help me by bringing them to me and we're going to wash. But it is something that they losing out on.
Mhm.
And like I told them, I said, you all expect me to learn the text so I can communicate. I had to.
Yeah.
They tease me at church. They say, you can text? I said, well, if I'm going to communicate with my grandkids, I had to.
Mhm.
Because this is what they do. And so I told them, I said, if you expect me to learn these things, well, it's something you need to learn. I said, so, Monica, you're going to start going to the store with me. you will learn how to buy groceries and not buying all this prepackaged stuff. You know, because she said, well, Granny, you make work for yourself.
Okay.
No, but anyway, I think we all want to leave something. We want to feel like, hey, I want you to be able to, or if things get any rougher, that you'll be able to survive. That's what this community has taught me, you know, but passing on the knowledge that you have to somebody else, like you know, how to sell, how to market yourself.
Yeah.
I feel good about yourself.
Yes.
You know, use, don't mind, learn from other people. And then this is, you know, with the garden, and when everybody's garden would come in, we share. You know, you go out on the porch and it may be about 12 ears of corn or basket of tomatoes where somebody's combined just left it for you. When they harvest come in, this is what,
Yeah.
and this is type of community, and this is the type of thing that was, I think by having something like the meals and the people, you know, without the people, it wouldn't, you know, we had to feel good about ourselves. We had to want to be good neighbors. We have to want to be, you know, in order to, for anything. Because if you just be mean to people, they're going to be mean to you,
Yes.
you know. But I think when we all needed each other, like Miss Pitts, she was sweet. I mean, she was very supportive. Like I said, my mom was a widower at 25, and but everybody knew that how she loved her kids, and I mean, she brought us up right, and in the school, I mean, she did everything she could to help us, because we would have to buy books, and we couldn't afford all the books. In fact, I never did have my own book. I always had to share books with my brother. And then my older, because my sister and my two older sisters, they had to share books because we had to buy books, and then it would be with no backs on them. We would get the old raggedy books where maybe our mama could afford to get. So it's hard for you to realize that. But you in history, so you probably have heard about this before.
Yeah.
You know. But I remember we going through the box trying to at least find a book with where the pages wouldn't tore out, or because we couldn't afford a new one, or not even the semi new. We had to get the wood with the backs off, and it's kind of hard to think back to that things used to really be like that. You know, so I'm thankful that when I see where we are now, that by the time my great kids get a certain age, how much better it's going to be. I chose to believe that.
Yeah.
That it's going to be that much better. Because look how much better. And that's what Darrell said, that we spoiled their generation because by the time they got my son, but he said because time they said things were so much better for you, for us, that you was in a place to make things better and you spoiled us. I said, okay, you see where we made a mistake, so you straighten it out with your generation.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, and they I said, yeah, I said because we were just thankful to be able to get a pair of shoes, and not somebody tell me, I don't want no kids, or I want designer this. I didn't know what a designer was.
Yeah.
you know, but that's what he told me, you know, when we would just be talking. He said, y'all generation spoiled us. And we talked about that at church. And so, and then we had that knowledge. We did. This is what we did. We was in a position where we had better jobs and we could afford to do things, and we tried to make up for what we didn't have, and we went overboard.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they go straighten it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm 22.
22.
Yeah.
So you're my granddaughter, yeah.
Yeah.
And she be 24 her birthday, and so yeah. So she's a sweet girl. We talk and when I was telling her about things, and she said, "Well, and Granny, I just can't imagine. She have no idea. They have no idea. They can't even fathom what it was like."
Yeah.
And I can't imagine with my grandmom, cause she used to talk about how they had to fight off the advances of because of people that they worked for that was trying to take advantage of them. But that was one thing she said, you do not have to. I mean, even back then, she was very about that. And then that now does, thank God that she was like that. That we was brought up, hey, this is something you don't have to do. Yeah. But I just think for the community that we was growing up in, and the Justers, the Burnett's, the Reeds, the Hollingsworth. I mean, these are the people around here, the Tilfords, that had and Miss Pitts, bless the, and the Braggs. We grew up playing together and just doing well. We didn't realize and didn't know that when we started getting older, they start kind of separating us, but we didn't know why.
Yeah.
You know, because I know what it was. Because they didn't want us mixing. You know, but all that time we have been, but we didn't know. You know, we didn't. We just know that they start being a little more stricter on us not doing certain things and not playing what we was playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I hope this gonna be a help to you. And
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was just wanting to ask you. You were talking about Marie carrying in. Did you know much about her husband Bill, or?
Bill and Marie was kind of on and off, and I think at one time when I came here, he had been in some trouble or something. So, and so she was, more. I think that's how we were so, because she had to. She had to be the mainstay in doing what for the family, because I think he had gotten in some trouble of some kind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But so Marie, she was the one. She was the go-getter in the family anyway.
Yeah.
She was the one that I told her, I said, you must came from old money, because you could kind of tell, She,
So, do you know why they wanted or had to sell the mill?
I think this was just something that they would get into different stuff, and then, and I don't know if it's when he had gotten into trouble and it kind of made things harder for her, and she was just trying to, get into something that she can maintain more with just her and her boys.
Yeah.
because Tommy, I mean, he went to service and he was he was um, uh, Black Hawk.
Okay.
And then Kenny, he's in Woodbury now in construction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so well, she had to get into something that she could manage for her and her boys.
Hmm. So, did you ever know the Epperleys who bought it after the Carrignans?
No,
No.
no, I never did know that.
Yeah.
That must have been one of the times that I moved back to Michigan.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because see, I
Yeah.
had some spaces when I would
Yeah,
go
I
back.
think. Yeah, I think that's when the mill started really going downhill. Then.
I think
Hmm.
now this is just kind of heard it was somebody that had bought it that just kind of sold off stuff, just kind of was in it to get grants, what they could, and then just not have the mill interested.
Yeah.
I did, not preserving it or doing anything with it,
Hmm.
but just what it could get from it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I heard.
Hmm.
Because my own, because I asked when I came back, why was the dam in the like it was, because I had enough knowledge knowing that it was money out there, some kind of way that you could get to do fix it. But someone said that he had gotten the money and didn't do it.
Mm. Oh, well.
The grant money to
Hmm.
fix the dam,
Hmm.
and by not fixing the dam, see, and then it just started really because we used to go there and fish, but we couldn't go across and fish anymore because the water was running around behind it and it was
Hmm.
unsafe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
So, do you know Tom Brady?
Oh yeah,
Who owns it
yeah,
now?
yeah.
Hmm.
Yes, I talked with him,
Hmm.
and in fact, I had him, my boss from the radio station
Yeah.
to get. He's been on the radio talking,
Okay.
and in fact,
Hmm.
they come up and have breakfast and everything. Yeah,
Yeah. Do
yeah.
you eat at the mill on
No,
Saturdays?
I'm going to, but I
Yeah.
haven't been. My son and I, uh, we said we are going down there with some people that live around here, and they gonna come on Saturday, and we're going. But I'm work with my church, and so it's been kind of hectic here
Yeah.
lately because we were without a pastor for so long. Our pastor and I'm associate minister there, and so my responsibilities there kind of increased. But right now we have a new pastor, so I have more time
Oh, yeah.
to
That's
do
good.
things.
Hmm.
Because on Saturday I usually have something. I'm calling on people and or doing something. Yeah,
Hmm.
working with the youth. But
Hmm.
now
Hmm.
I'm getting a little freer, and we're gonna meet up.
Yeah.
But Bart told me he called me. It's the owner of WGNS, and they was
Hmm.
wanting me to meet them down there, and I told him I have women ministry today. I couldn't go, and I really wanted to go,
Hmm.
and he said, "Well, if you try to eat healthy, I don't advise it because all this butter and
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah." So he said that but it was good.
Hmm.
It just
Yeah. Hmm.
she said it just all these big what is it, pancakes? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you come down.
I
Oh
haven't. I haven't eaten there yet. I want to, but
yeah.
I've seen the menus.
Uh,
Hmm.
my doctor, I go to Doctor Stuart Smith, orthopedic in Nashville, and so he said, "How far are you from the Readyville Mill?" I said, "Hop, skip, and a jump." He looked at me. I said, that's what old people say.
Yeah.
I said, that's like a block.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
And he said, because he said, the next time I come through there, I'm going to stop there. And I said, okay.
Mhm.
I told him, I said, in fact, I said, my dad and my brother and all, they used to have work there and do different things, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. So, are you glad to see the mill getting
Oh,
restored and everything?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
It um, it's the picture in the telephone book. I think it was in the telephone book.
Mhm.
And they showed a picture of the behind the mill.
Mhm.
And I can actually see my mom sitting there fishing
Yeah.
in my mind
Mhm.
because it's a place where they would fish right behind the mill.
Mhm.
That when that thing would be turning
Mhm.
and the water would be real swift, what it because it would pull the fish out of the river coming down the lake, so they could sit there and catch those red eyes they call them.
Yeah.
She and Miss Lally Taylor,
Yeah.
they could, but that was my mom's relaxation. I mean, oh, my granddaddy used to always say, I thought you were tired. She said, I am tired. That's when I'm going fishing.
Mhm.
Because fishing would relax her. My mom,
Yeah.
she worked in a restaurant, and I mean, she loved her kids. I mean,
Yeah. Mhm.
she's a good mother. She was well respected around here too, you know. Yeah.
What was her name?
Lily's
Lily.
Francis. Yeah. Everybody call her Lily Francis.
Mhm.
It's really weird because my grandma, that's who we live with, and we call her Mama Orty,
Mhm.
and we call my mama Mama Francis. We call both of them Mama, but we
Yeah.
call them by their name.
Yeah. Mhm.
And that's what people in the neighborhood would call
Mhm.
Mama Orty, Mama Francis,
Mhm.
and the Mammy Zan. I mean, we all, Aunt Lizzie. We wouldn't be related to the people, but that's the closeness when you give somebody a family name like that, or aunt, or call them when they're not.
Mhm.
It's showing you how close we are,
Yeah.
and more than just a miss.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, and the people in the, it was so many black families around here at one time. I was thinking about all the houses that used to be all around the road. They were sharecroppers' houses, but people would live, and I was thinking about the Simmons and the Weatherlys and the Greers and I mean, all these people that used to live here. I told you, it used to be a little city,
Mhm.
a little place, you know. Right now, the houses are gone. All the sharecropper cabins are gone now, and just big fields. But where they had people that helped them on the farm, you know, lived on the farm.
Mhm.
And then my granddaddy, he never did do farming. He worked in the mine now, or he
Mhm.
worked cutting logs,
Mhm.
or he worked at the mill.
Yeah.
That's what he did for the, yeah. Oh yeah, we had our telephone office here too.
Oh. Mhm.
So, so we,
Mhm.
yeah, so Readyville was kind of 3 stores, yeah.
I'm gonna put me some chicken tenders, you want some?
You know.
You care for some water or something, young lady?
No, I'm
I'm
good.
sorry I didn't ask you, did
Oh no, it's okay.
I?
I'm
I'm
good.
sorry. I had brought me some in case I start coughing,
Mhm.
but praise the Lord, thank you. I People have been calling me my minister friends. They standing in faith with me about, you know. I said, but because I had a negative report, and I said, I'm gonna believe the report of the Lord.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah.
But it seemed like every time you call, it would like something was happening, or the doctor had called and want me to go see this person, or want me to go see that. And it was kind of beginning to, I was getting a little weary, and I thought,
Yeah.
and so I said, no,
Mhm.
I'm gonna follow through,
Yes. Mhm.
because the first thing you want to do is say, oh,
Yeah.
no, I made a commitment.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Is there anything else that you want to add before we stop today?
I can't think of anything, sweetie. It
Mhm.
just, I just want you want in this to come out about the relationship
Mhm.
that we had with all the people in the community and connecting the meal. And I know it's with the meal, but all of it hooked together. You can use them all. You can go and use them all.
That's okay.
And that it kind of worked together. And I think with the lumber mill, cause and grist mill we call it,
Yeah. Mhm.
and then in the mine, all the people that here we just kind of everybody worked together,
Mhm.
you know, and try to instill morality in your family. You
Mhm.
matter who you are,
Mhm.
you don't want to just mistreat anybody. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I don't think we ever had any problems like that in this. If it did, I didn't know anything about it, and then it would come out. Uh,
Okay.
what, Miss Hollingsworth that
Mhm.
lived in the house, right? That it used to be a little bridge
Mhm.
that you could cross to go into her house, and she was a gifted seamstress, and her family had once uh, run the mill, you know. So, and she was another lady that always was there to encourage us, you know, of, of wanting to do something. If you wanted to learn to sew, if you wanted to learn, now one of my sisters, she was more interested in crafts and things, and so, but I never was. But it was something for us here if we was interested,
Mhm. Yeah.
and there was
Mhm.
always somebody willing to take that time to share with it. That's the type of place, and I think that's what made Readyville Mill last as long as it did. It keeps coming back
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
that's the way the people are.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's the people. That's the generation of people. It may not be as many of us, but it's a remnant.
Yeah. Mhm.
You know, you will find them. And then there come people like you that want to help keep it alive with
Mhm.
what you're doing. So
Mhm.
that's a gift. That's something God is using you for.
Well, thank you.
I do. I believe that. I do.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
is because He know the heart of people, and this is so many memories for some people just to see it. Some of the things just have one of the mills just fell apart and floated down the river,
Mhm.
but then He put it in the heart of somebody to, hey, we're gonna preserve something. We're gonna keep,
Mhm.
and it's working.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so that generations to come, somebody's gonna read about you, Lauren.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
But yeah.
stand on faith.
Yes.
This will
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and just one last thing to ask before I stop. Do you consent to donate this interview to the public domain so we can share it with others?
Yes,
Okay.
that's why I was doing that.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.